So, today we're talking about brushes.
Yep.
Brushes. So, Matt and I, very spontaneously before the beginning of this, were just chatting about brushes, and we found out that there's a couple different things, or a couple things that we do differently. First off is that I play with my snares off, and Matt plays with his snares on. Why?
When I'm playing, we were talking about which we'll talk a little more about later, but I do what I call the swatting the fly technique when I'm trying to get that back beat. And even on a super, super low volume, you can still get that snare response. So if I'm playing a brush pattern, I get that snare sound. What about you? What do you...
So, for me, the biggest part about playing brushes is the actual stir sound, so the friction sound that you get from the drum. So, for me, I always try to have that nice, clean stir sound happening, and then any alteration that I do to that sound, I want to be unhindered from the sound of the snares. And if I am going to do a fly swat, if you will, I want that to be bassy and low, and I want it to bring the character of the drum and not the snare sound.
Fair.
So, let's talk about some patterns.
Yeah.
So, I would say that we're probably going to stick to swing patterns today. We only have 15 minutes. So,
I'm already 2 minutes in.
Do you want to talk about your pattern first?
So yeah, my left hand 90% of the time is doing a circle. I know there's not a camera on mine, so we won't be able to cut to that, but... And it's going 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my left hand is doing a hybrid of a ride pattern, and if there's any hits written into the music or you need to play along with the melody. That type of thing. So really my left hand is creating that stir that Matt loves so much. And my right hand is taking care of everything else, where I can either be... or I can stir along with it. Now, as the tempo gets higher, I go less more from a circle into straight lines, because if you're going, you can't really actively do a full circle, so I'm going back and forth like this.
So, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking all of this because I feel like your brush pattern still sounds good. The majority of what I know about brushes was taught to me by a guy named Ben Bolello, I'm not sure if he still teaches at the Greater Hartford Academy of the Arts, but I took a number of drum set lessons with him, specifically to learn about brushes. And Ben taught me this really cool pattern where, I don't need to do that because you'll see it on here, but if you were to put your right brush over your left, if you will, and actually play concentric circles, you can play 2 circles on the drum unhindered, right? And then if you want to add a feel to that to create some sort of accent, you just increase the speed of the brush. And if you want some sort of ride pattern to shine through that, you can add inflection with the right or left hand. So right now, I'm adding a quarter note pulse. And if you notice, there's just a slight differential where you would have a gap, which is what the left hand fills in, which is similar to what Matt was saying before. I wonder how long it'll take you to confuse since we're both doing that.
I think most people watching live know who we are, but...
I feel so bad for them. But anyway, so if you can see this in the overhead cams, we are able to make that work. You'll see that my right hand is kind of making an M shape, while the left hand does that same circle. And as you get faster, if you go to up tempo, right, you can just make those circles smaller. so on.
Yeah.
Cool.
So as you can see, there's a bunch of different ways, and neither of us.
I am by no means. I am as my girlfriend Bethany's father would say. I am the expert novice. I know one brush pattern that works really well for me.
Yeah. I'm not an authority on brushes at all. I don't consider myself good at brushes. I'm not gonna like. What I was telling Matt before is I didn't have to play brushes until I had to play brushes. I got a musical gig and it said brushes and I was like, and I like quickly, this was like, I don't know, early in my undergrad, and I had to go on YouTube and watch a guy playing and I was like, oh, you stir it? Oh, okay. And I like had to figure it out. So I didn't take 5 years to learn how to do this and then do it. This has all been like kind of figuring it out. But if we want to talk about some great books to look at, I believe this is from the Riley book. This is one of the chapters in the Riley book.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about Max Roach. And this is a copy that I use for educational purposes. I do own the book. I did not steal this. But it gives awesome patterns like this. I don't know if
look on the back. That's the one I use.
Yeah, so it gives patterns depending on the style of music. I guess this is what Max Roach did, and you can watch videos, but this is what I do, and that's what Matt does. So it's like, and these are a really cool resource, and there's tons of other stuff that I would have to actually practice to master. And then this book we also talked about, again, I do own this. This is an educational copy that I had. I couldn't find my other one. I'm not done cleaning through quarantine, but this is Brush Artistry by Philly Joe Jones. We talked about that in another video a couple days ago.
It's pretty PDFable on the internet if you want to look at it.
And every page is this simple, where it just has a shape for your left hand and a shape for your right hand, gives the pattern. It tells you what tempo it works best as. It's pretty amazing. So you have, this is kind of
Molly Sales was on. She sounds really good on brushes.
Yes, she does. I don't know if she's still watching, but she was watching. So it gives you, I mean, you're going to have to change it. If you're playing a ballad, you need to have more swoosh. And the pattern that I do might not have enough swoosh, so I might have to practice what.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, well, who's your favorite player on brushes?
Oh, that's hard to say.
Mine's probably Jimmy Cobb.
Yeah.
Personally. I feel like the recording of All Blues on Kind of Blue is like a standard of...
Yeah, definitely.
You know? So, that's just me when I think of like a brush sound.
I saw a clinic at PASIC a couple years ago of a guy who talked about brushes, and I think he was a German guy. I forget his name. I really should have looked up his name before this, but he was like crazy, and he played not only jazz styles, he played every style of music. He even demonstrated playing like metal drumming, which was
it Klaus
wild.
Hessler?
No. I'll look up his name, maybe we can post it. But anyway, let's talk about how to practice brushes, whether you have brushes or not. Because I know some of us are stuck in your house right now and looking for something to do. You may have an old pair of brushes. You may only have your hands. One of the beautiful things, even if you don't have a drum or you need to do it quietly, or you're working out these patterns and you're worried about hitting the rim, go ahead while you still can and order a pizza. Keep the box. You can see that we did these. This is the grease stain from the pizza. It was really good, but no pizza in here.
Who can we throw where's this pizza from? Let's throw.
This is Pizzeria Cesano from South Glastonbury. 8.2 on the One Bite app.
8.2 on the One Bite app. We're trying it tonight.
Dave Portnoy hasn't been there, but the aggregate score is 8.2.
Matt got his Friday 2 pizzas. Joey's 2 pizzas.
Yeah. So
what I think is cool is that you might be thinking 2 things. They're about to play brushes on pizza boxes. That's absurd. But if you think about it, if you have like a young student, maybe middle school or even high school, one of the biggest issues that even myself I ran into is a 14-inch drum is not a large surface to practice this on. So if you're looking for a way to find a larger surface that still gives you the friction sound, but a larger surface to practice your pattern, cardboard box gives you that same kind of cool drumhead feel.
And this might even be cool if you got a gig with like a singer-songwriter or something, and a coffee house type gig.
I don't know if I would particularly ever would use a pizza box on a
Yeah,
gig.
but I mean that's pretty cool.
But I'm not gonna lie, it sounds pretty good.
Maybe if you get like a, you playing kid, I'm going too far. Anyway, yeah.
So, just a couple practice strategies, maybe, if we want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, particularly for my method, what I would start with is just, can I keep time with those concentric circles happening at once? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that was too fast. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Then go to half notes. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Then quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Right, and then essentially once you get that quarter note pulse, you can accent your 2 and 4. 1.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're having trouble with that, I mean, even just one hand at a time, sitting there, you can do this while watching your Netflix. Just making sure that those are even circles in the same amount of time, not just drawing it, but in time. And then do your right hand. And then another thing to do, if you have the Ted Reed syncopation book around, you can put that on and read those while you're doing the pattern and hit those hits in there. I don't know the first ones, but...
And then, like, you know, if there's still pizza in the box, halfway through you can have a snack.
Yeah, but there's not, so we'll have to order more. Yeah, we only got 2 minutes left on the lecture.
So,
but
I guess my big thing with brushes...
let me pause you. One of our live people mentioned that Jeff Hamilton is amazing on brushes.
Oh,
too,
yeah,
so
definitely.
we forgot to mention him. So
Yeah, Jeff Hamilton, he sounds great. I mean, there's so many people, right? You look at a guy like Clayton Cameron, you know, you've got Ed Tigpen, obviously most of the classic jazz guys, right? You know, Elvin Jones, Philly Joe Jones, Papa Joe Jones, Joe Jones, right? There's a lot of them, and then there's a lot of great modern players. It's I don't want to say it's less of an art form now. It still definitely is, but a lot of those guys essentially experimented to get what we know as the classic sound.
Yeah.
Now. But yeah, Jeff Hamilton is definitely a modern day giant in terms of modern brush playing. So, yeah, baby.
sweet.
I still wish there was pizza in these boxes. So.